introduce Hiba from Dubai Land Department, DREI. For over a decade, Hiba has been a consultant and instructor at DREI, conducting real estate sales and leasing brokerage laws. She also conducts regulations training in Dubai, Sharjah, and Bahrain. Hiba, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate DREI partnering with us for our webinars.
Thank you so much, Lynette. Good morning, Stuart, and good morning to everyone. And thanks for having me on again.
Now, Hiba, I see that you have a presentation which includes the questions we have for you today. Can you start your presentation, please?
Yes, please. So we'll start with the presentation just to tell everyone about Dubai Real Estate Institute, what we do, who we are, and then we'll jump into the Q&A. So Dubai Real Estate Institute, for those of you who don't know what we do, we are the educational arm of Dubai Land Department. Next, please. The main focus of Dubai Real Estate Institute is to provide specialized real estate education that meets international standards. DREI also provides information about the real estate sector through a number of regular educational and awareness programs and training. Next, please. In terms of our vision is to become the leading international benchmark in spreading and sustaining real estate knowledge. And our mission, next please, is to provide advanced and high quality programs in collaboration with internationally recognized universities, publishing research and provision of public and private sector related consultations, enhancing communications among all stakeholders, and empowering the society by disseminating real estate knowledge. Next, please. In addition to that, our services include real estate courses, certifications programs accredited by the Knowledge Authority, real estate workshops and boot camps, real estate conferences and awareness sessions, local and global memberships, which I'll touch upon at the end of the session today, real estate consultancy, and real estate publications, magazines, and books. Next, please. If you'd like to know a little bit more about us, of course, you can visit our website or get in touch with me directly. Over to you, Danette. Thanks.
Okay, so these questions, the following questions are questions that you have asked during this webinar or have sent separate message asking, and we just want to address them for you here today. So the first one is, can Hra be registered by the tenant? Next slide, please.
So good question, and the answer is yes. What I've done in the previous sessions with you, Lynette, we've addressed the fact that Hra can be registered either by the property management company, of course, if they do manage the property, or through the Dubai Land Department Service Trustees Center, by the landlord through the Dubai Rest app, and of course now we're saying that it can also be done by the tenant through the Dubai Rest app. I have a step-by-step process. I'll go through it quickly. So as a tenant, if you want to register Hra, of course you need to download the application Dubai Rest. After that, you need to log in. You choose the actual property, and the property you can search for it either by title deed number, or you can search for it by plot number or Dubai municipality number. Once you find that property, you click on it in order to create the contract between you and the landlord. You add the details of the contract in place. And again, the process is very easy, step by step. Once you create the contract, you need to send it now to the landlord for his approval. If it gets approved by the landlord, that's when the payment gateway gets activated. You can pay to register Hra either through credit card or the Nukudi e-pay system. And in terms of who pays for it, it's definitely as agreed between the parties. So it's a very easy process and can be done, as I said, by landlord, tenant, real estate, Dubai Land Department, service trustee centers, or property management centers.
Thank you, Hiba. I actually have a colleague that moved and did her Hra online during the lockdown, and she said it was such an easy process. So
it's good to have the feedback. Absolutely. Thanks for sharing this.
Okay, so the next one is DLD facilitating the digital process for property transfer?
So last time we've had our session, and it was, I want to say it was still during Ramadan, and I had said that Dubai Land Department was facilitating the digital transfer process. And immediately after we finished that webinar, I was bombarded by questions from brokers and real estate professionals. They're saying, Hiba, but we tried, and DLD is not doing it anymore. And you know what? That was true. And this is one thing I think Lynette will learning during this situation, like you said earlier, the uncertainty and the need to change, right? So that was true. Why did they stop it for a while? And that really is because due to the materiality of the transactions that we're talking about here. We're not transferring, you're not buying and selling, you know, lipstick or a perfume bottle. We're really dealing with properties, material transactions. So what DLD wanted to do is to kind of go back, revisit the process to make sure that everybody's interests are being properly secured and taken care of, whether making sure that there is the ability for the registration trustees, ever since they started operating back in business, initially with the 30%, 50%, and now at full capacity, to be able to have that video conference utility to make sure that the buyer is the buyer and the seller is the seller. Also the payment, if you remember, we've also had in our last webinar a couple that were talking about their experience, and they said they encountered a bit of issues in terms of money being sent and received. So because of all these issues, they needed to revisit the actual process. They did revisit it, and now it's back and operating. I'll read you just, guys, a little bit of an excerpt that I decided would be helpful in today's session, which was something that was announced by the government of Dubai media office on May 20th. So right kind of around, I want to say the right before the Eid break. So the new system allows direct interaction between the seller and the buyer, and the finalization of the procedures through audio visual communication. The verification process for authenticating property owners and confirming their approval for the transaction can be conducted digitally and remotely. The system also facilitates money transfer through an escrow account that protects the rights of all parties. Money transfers can be transferred within 3 working days to the seller's account. The department has successfully completed 550 transactions worth 600 million through this system. Total real estate transactions processed over the last 2 months, which is of course were the most critical months, by the Dubai Land Department and Real Estate Registration Trustee offices operating part-time at the time, reached 3,000. The department is currently now also working on developing a registration system based on artificial intelligence and blockchain technologies. So hopefully that answers your question there.
No, that's great news, and it's really exciting. So hopefully this is something that we can use going forward and not have to visit offices and sign pieces of paper, and everything can just be done.
Exactly. And Lynette, recognizing that, you know, again, power of attorney is now, it's still tricky. Lots of people cannot come to Dubai you know, cannot fly in to transact, or they don't have POAs in place. So if you are living in Dubai or you do have a POA, then there's no need for you to go through that digital transfer process. But if you don't, at least there is a tool for them to start using.
That's amazing. Thank you, Hiba. All right, next slide, please. My tenant operates a hair and nail salon business. Her business wasn't doing well considering the government forced lockdown and limited operational time thereafter. Can she demand a waiver of rent or reduction in rent for that time? Next slide, please.
Lynette, can you hear me? Because I kind of lost you. You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I stopped hearing you. Stuart, can you hear me? Okay. All right, so the answer to this question, you know, and again, this applies to, I want to say,
Hiba, can you hear us? Because we can't hear you. Stuart, can you hear me? Hiba, can you hear me? I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
Can you? Okay, now I can hear you.
I'm so sorry. Can you please repeat from the very beginning?
No worries. You guys, okay, so just to answer your question, there's not one solution that pertains to all. I've spoken recently with RDC representatives. RDC and Dubai government are keen on finding solutions that are basically mutually beneficial to all the parties involved in any rental transaction. And having said that, the likes of nail salons, hair salons, gyms, spas that were forced to stop doing business, they had to look at them in a way to also be fair to them. Having said that, why do I say that there is no solution for all the parties and all the sectors? Because if you look at the residential and commercial, right? The residential sector, in terms of people enjoying their homes, they benefited way more during this lockdown than the commercial, right? Because a lot of people just stayed home. So they actually benefited from their property. If you look at the commercial, specifically in your question that you just addressed with the hair salons and the spas and the gyms, they were first to shut down, right? So what can we do? This is when the RDC said we have to look at the situation on a case-by-case basis. What they can do for that specific hair salon is look at potentially maybe reducing the rent, right? Or waiving it altogether for that specific time where they were forced to shut down. Evidence is key. I've said that and I've stressed that in our earlier sessions, Lynette. Why do I say that again? Because sometimes, I hate to say it, but some businesses were not doing well, not because of the effect of COVID-19, but before. Maybe because there was no interest in that business, or maybe because of ill management, right? So one of the kind of proof that RDC is looking at when you submit your application or your dispute is they might ask for your tax return. Let's look at your VAT tax return before this time of year, and after a year, recognizing the effect of COVID-19, and they will try to rule accordingly. But they said we are looking into matters like either waiving the rent, reducing the rent, or in case of residential, if there's a need to terminate the rental agreement because that person lost his job or have experienced a pay cut or what have you, they will ask for proof and they will rule accordingly.
And Hiba, let me ask you, is the online system at RDC still open where people can register their disputes?
Yes, and this is something, Lynette, and this, to be honest with you, I did highlight it with RDC. This is not even just something that they started doing because of COVID-19. This dates back as far as 2018. In 2018, at a GITEX show, that's when RDC said we are doing what we call remote judging. So it is a service, it is available, check their website. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide. Did this one already? Tenant and landlord agreed in the tenancy addendum that the landlord is responsible for maintenance replacements requests above AED 500. Water boiler needed replacement cost is AED 1500. Can the landlord request the tenant to pay the AED 500?
So real life questions, right? And I'm going to be quick on that. Yes, he can request the tenant to pay the 500. I mean, just think about that. The landlord, I always have people arguing on behalf of the tenant. And for once, I'm going to be a little bit more towards the benefit of the landlord, taking the side of the landlord. He's not asking for the full 1,500. He's saying, listen, we have an addendum, we have an agreement. I asked you to pay 500. Pay it. Now, as a tenant, my advice to you is just make sure that you keep a receipt, right? To show that in case he does ask you to pay for any other maintenance or replacement throughout the year, you say, you know what, I paid my portion, I'm good to go. And of course, if there's ever a dispute, you can have that receipt to prove that he has nothing against you.
Perfect.
Thanks, Lynette.
Thank you. Next slide, please. A tenant rented a property. Landlord didn't pay service charges. Community management company restricted tenants' access to common areas. What can a tenant do?
$1 million question, Lynette. I get asked this question almost on a daily basis. Why? Again, these are real questions by real people pausing it. So, how fair is that? Tenant today rented the property on the assumption that he's going to enjoy the property and all of the access to the common areas, gym, pool, laundry service, whatever the situation is. After he moved in, the management company or the community management company, they block their access. Why? Because it's the landlord who is not paying up the service charge. What can he do? So in this case, the tenant can actually file a case with RDC. What he's seeking in this case is almost, again, a compensation in some sort, which could be equivalent to the benefits that he couldn't utilize from accessing the common areas. So just to give you a quick example, let's say he's paying 100,000 rent, and let's say he can quantitate that the amount of utilization benefits that he could have enjoyed by having access to the common areas amounts to about 20,000. He can actually approach RDC, and RDC will require the rent to be reduced by the 20,000 because he didn't get the full utilization or to benefit from his property. Having said that, I want to take it now up to the community management company, where I also advise them to approach RDC, because ever since the new law with the jointly owned properties that came out in September of 2019, anything in terms of disputes pertaining to non-paid service charges goes to the RDC. So now they can also look at disputes between the management company and landlords for lack of payment on the service charge. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a quick answer.
No, it's very good, and it's a very common problem here. So, yeah. Okay, what is IDREIM or iDream?
What is iDream, and do you want to be an iDreamer? So please, next, I can start to tell you a little bit about how you can be an iDreamer. Again, we've been getting a lot of questions on that. And it's sad that not a lot of people came to know what it is, because we did announce it very briefly at our first DREI breakfast that we had before COVID-19 kind of put us in place. But it's an amazing, it's a tool that is made available to you, all real estate stakeholders, to join the membership of iDream, which is a hub that unifies the real estate industry and creates a trusted place where like-minded individuals can come together to grow their business, gain industry knowledge, network, learn, get together, and identify some sponsorship opportunities or membership schemes. Next, please. So in a nutshell, why join iDream? Simply because you can enjoy discounts on our courses, networking events, visibility, and unique benefits. Next, please. What DREI has done for the iDream is you can have 3 different levels of membership. There's the elite, the corporate, and the individual, only at 500 dirhams. But the benefits outweigh, of course, the cost. Yesterday, I had a webinar with one of our partners from NAR, ML Unur, and we were talking about the importance of having the opportunity to travel with DREI and DLD and join their delegation with international conferences. So this is something that you can, of course, enjoy as being a part of iDream. Joint press releases, free individual memberships, representatives to be part of the membership committee, being part of our think tank and innovation dialogue. And again, Lynette, you know that you were part of it, as well as Property Finder. And you know firsthand the value in that, the kind of suggestions, the kind of solutions that we come up during those type of innovation sessions, and how these reports get sent to the decision maker. I mean, honestly, we live in a country, we're so lucky to live in a country where the leaders are looking forward for our feedback. They listen and they effect change. Biggest example, which we witnessed in our last discussion, how there was a lot of concern about why can't we make the LTV a bit more flexible for first-time home buyers. And as you know, UAE Central Bank changed that from 75% to 80%. So this is just an example of really what you can do by being an iDreamer and joining Dubai Real Estate Institute. Of course, our logo can also be part of displayed on your website and executive education as well. One last thing before I end today, I just want to say that we're super excited as DREI on also joining forces and collaborating with 5 new recognized institutions, academic institutions, the like of RIT, University of Manchester. I want to also name Oxford, just to name a few, offering lots of academic master degree education, executive also education that kind of caters on focusing, giving you skills to how to navigate now the digital world, how to do business in the new post-COVID-19 world. So definitely check it out. Check out the Dubai Dubai Real Estate Institute website. Get in touch if you have any questions. I also in the next slide showed you guys how you can also register for our courses online. Having said that, I'm happy to also announce that in July, we will have virtual sessions. So if you're not a big fan of taking courses online, we will have virtual sessions. So I can be your instructor, walk you through your courses, or we're going to try to have also in-class sessions as well. But that will be announced, I want to say maybe in a couple weeks. So check out the website. And that would be it.
Thank you, Hiba.
Thank
As
you,
always, very insightful. My first one is to Hiba. And Hiba, I understand you're a government employee, so you might not have the full answer to all of these, so it's okay if you don't want to answer, and we'll save it for the next webinar. Why is the remote transfer not activated yet, and when will it be?
It is. So basically, like I said, maybe and Malik have touched upon this specific point as well. So feel free, Malik, to either confirm or give a little bit more information on that. So it was announced back on May 20th that it was going to go into action. Now, maybe they're not doing it full-fledged across the board for everybody. Specifically, like I said, if your clients happen to be in Dubai, or if there is a POA, they're still asking you to do it through the traditional way, simply because of the requirements for the systems to be put in place. You know, cameras, ability to do video conferencing with the clients, making sure that the rights of the parties are safeguarded in terms of money transfers. Like I said, this is a materialistic transaction. So there's a lot of things that needs a bit of fine tuning. Having said that, I am aware of actual transactions that are taking place. And again, confirming back to Malik saying that they've witnessed it. Correct, Malik?
Yes, but we've done a couple of transactions successfully with the DLD. Now we need to understand that the DLD implemented this measure initially and essentially for the purposes of COVID-19. But now registration trustee offices are open. So there's and travel restrictions are easing up. So although this could be the way forward, definitely with improvements, because as Hiba said, and I totally agree with you, Hiba, this is a conveyancing transaction, and it bears a lot of risks, and it's not enough to just have a video call. There should be other protections implemented. But let's keep in mind that the DLD introduced these measures for the purposes of COVID-19 at the moment. So the fallback situation is going to the registration trustee and doing it through the registration trustee office.
Yes.
Okay.
Keeping in mind, again, I mean, the smart Dubai, if I want to say vision of Sheikh Mohammed being implemented, eventually that's all going to happen. But COVID-19 kind of came in, nobody expected it. So given the resources that were made available to the public and to the real estate stakeholders in general, I still give, you know, Dubai Land Department and all the government entities thumbs up on trying to work with the tools that they had in place.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, sure. This question, I believe, goes to what you were saying earlier, Hiba, and it's along the same lines of this first question. It says here there is an escrow account. So I'm assuming this is the escrow account for the digital transfer that money can be paid to. Do they have to pay extra to put money into the escrow account as an extra fees to use the facility of this escrow account?
So from where I stand on this, I say, because the novelty of the whole process, I say exactly what Malik, go back to the registration trustee. If anybody is equipped with the details and the exact fees associated with the process, they would know. So I would just say, call them up and ask them all these extra questions that you might have in place.